you're all ready, I'm ready also. We can go ahead and get started.
Yeah, one last question. You'll do your presentation and then we have a presentation to do. Will you just hand it off to us to, okay, perfect.
Yes, exactly. So my name is Bill Fritz, and I want to welcome everybody who's attending virtually this Zoom meeting. One day, eventually, we'll be able to do this in person again. We'll be able to see each other. This is a Zoom meeting, and it is being recorded. Carolyn Schaefer is the moderator. She's running the meeting. If you have questions during the meeting or you want to speak during the meeting, you can raise your hand or press *9 if you're listening to this by phone. Carolyn will then cycle through and bring everybody into the meeting that way. We have, excuse me, I assume everybody has seen the agenda. I'm going to do a brief introduction here, and then I'm going to hand it off to Bobby Jocks, who's the applicant for this particular, representing the applicant for this request, and he'll introduce his team, and he's got a presentation then. We'll then try to answer some questions about the county review process and questions and answers from the public. The whole purpose of this meeting is to provide the public with some information on the what the application is and what the process will be and how you can participate in it, and to hear any concerns or comments that the public may have, support, opposition, questions, observations, any of those things. That this is a listening session. There's no decision that comes out of this particular meeting. Just to start very quickly here, I want to say that if I can find my notes so I can read the right thing, that this meeting is being held pursuant to and in compliance with ordinance number 20-A16, which is an ordinance to ensure the continuity of government during the COVID-19 disaster. Carolyn, I do see that Ms. Palmer, which is the board member for this district, has her hand raised. Could you bring her in case she wants to say anything before the start of this meeting?
All right, she's in. Ms. Palmer, if you'd like to speak, you can now.
Thanks. I just wanted to know if I could get into this part so that if I had a clarifying question, I could ask that, but maybe you don't want me in that way. It's usually I'm used to at these meetings to be.
Oh, absolutely. We can do that, Carolyn, right?
Yes, we can.
Yep, we'll just leave you in. Yep, sorry about that.
No problem. Thanks.
Yep. And if I see, I'm not sure who else may come in, but if we see that somebody else should be, we can do it that way too also. So I'm going to go ahead and get started here. If I can click the right buttons, and I'm sorry that. So you should be able to see my screen, Carolyn. Can you see the screen like we saw before?
Yes, it's fine.
Great. So this application is known as Special Use Permit, or SP 2021-01 Midway Solar. The purpose of this meeting is, as I said, to share information about the proposed project, what the process is, and the policies and regulations around it. We want to get input. That's why we do this meeting. What a summary of this meeting will be presented to both the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors. And we will also include the actual link to the recording of this meeting. So if any commissioner or board member wants to view the entire meeting, they can do so. So how does development happen in Albemarle County? This is a long process that shows you sort of in macro scale what's going on. We're at the very beginning here at the far left. They've made an application. They're going through the special use permit process. That's a legislative review, requires action by the Board of Supervisors. Following that, there's going to be an initial site plan, and then a final site plan, and then building permits. Along the way, there's going to be things like this erosion control measures are going to be put in place, entrance permits from the Virginia Department of Transportation. And those are all reviewed and have to be approved before the activity can take place. So like I said, we're at the very start of this. Nothing has been approved. Nothing has been denied. We're at the very beginning of the project. I do know that I've gotten some questions about how how did we get where we are? And what's happened is the applicant has applied for a special use permit. 2 years ago, I believe it is, I don't remember the exact date, the Board of Supervisors amended the zoning ordinance to add solar facilities, solar energy systems, as a use by special use permit in the rural areas of the county. And what that means is it's a legislative review, meaning it's a discretionary review. There's criteria that we must review against, and I'm going to get into that here in a little bit. The application is reviewed by county staff and by a variety of other agencies, both in and out of the county. It also goes to the Planning Commission and to the Board of Supervisors. This particular request is also going to go to the Agricultural Forestal Advisory Committee. Because the property is adjacent to an agricultural forestal district. So we will be referring this request to the Agricultural Forestal Advisory Committee to see if they have any comments about the potential impact of this proposal on agricultural and forestal activities within the district. This property is not within the district, it's adjacent to it. So what do we review a special use permit for? This is actually language I simply cut and paste from the zoning ordinance. And this is what every special use permit is reviewed against. And I would like to read these. I know you can see it, but I still would like to read it. We review to determine, or the board makes board reviews it to consider factors that there be no substantial detriment, whether the proposed special use permit will be a substantial detriment to adjacent properties, whether the character of the adjacent parcels and the nearby area will be changed by the proposed special use, whether the proposed special use will be in harmony with the purpose and intent of this chapter, that means the zoning ordinance, with the uses permitted by right in the district, that's the rural areas district, and with the regulations provided in section 5 of the zoning ordinance as applicable, and there are none. And with the public health, safety, and general welfare. We also review to determine whether proposed special use permit will be consistent with the comprehensive plan. Sorry about that. So what this request is, it's the proposed construction of an 8 megawatt solar energy electrical generation facility, and it has a 4 megawatt battery energy storage system. The applicant's going to provide far more detail than I am on this request. It's about, the panels cover about 80 acres on a 136 acre parcel, and it's about 1.5 miles south of Batesville on Craig Store Road. And I've highlighted the property there just so you can sort of see it's on the northwest side of Craig Store Road. The applicant has provided a lot of information. All of that information is available on the county's website. If you look at the agenda that's in the county calendar, it'll take you to, there's a link in there that will actually take you to all the information that we have on this request. That information is updated as we receive more information. So just today, I actually added some revised an email from the Virginia Department of Transportation, back and forth information with the Department of Transportation. So it's that gets updated on a regular basis. And there you can see, this is an example of the kind of information you can find. The timeline for this, the project is currently under review. We plan on sending comments to the applicant March 5th. That's when I should hope to get comments back from all the different reviewing agencies. We've sent it out to a variety of different people, and I hope to get those comments back, and I can package those up and send them to the applicant. Following that, we'll go to the Planning Commission for a public hearing. No date has been set for that. It won't be later than April 19th unless the applicant agrees to extend that date. And the Board of Supervisors will need to hear this, and no hearing date has been set for that. And that hearing date has to occur no later than January 19th 2022 unless it's extended by the applicant. And those dates are set out in the state code. That's why these I put those dates in there. Important thing there at the bottom, if you have questions, you can email me at bfritz@albemarle.org. I have an email distribution list. I recognize some of the names from my email distribution list, and as I get information, I'll be sending it out. The VDOT information I didn't send out because I got it too late today. So I will send that out and keep people up to date on when we're going before the Planning Commission, Board of Supervisors, and when comments and new information is available. So that's all I had at this point. I'd like to turn it over to Bobby Jocks, who is the representative of the applicant, and he can introduce his team and make a presentation. Following this, what we're going to do, just to remind everybody, I think some people have come on since I started. What we're going to do is we're going to have the public speak, and we'll try to answer your questions. If you are listening on the phone, you'll need to press *9, and Carolyn Schaefer, who's running this meeting, will then put you in the queue to talk. If you are listening to this by Zoom, raise your hand. The chat feature has been turned off, but if you raise your hand, we'll get to you, and Carolyn will bring everybody in and do that. I think the idea here is, Bobby and I were talking before, is try to get the comments, and then we'll try to answer them at the end of the meeting, and then we'll have a wrap up. So Bobby, do you want to take it away from here?
Yeah, thank you, Bill. Give me just a second to get our presentation up here. Bill, can you see the presentation?
Yes, I can.
Great. Thank you again, Bill, and thank you all, everybody here attending the meeting this evening. Really look forward to presenting our project and hearing your comments and feedback, and seeing how we can incorporate that comment and feedback into our project to make it the best overall project it can be. We're here today to present our Midway Solar Center project, which is looking to secure a special use permit for solar energy facility in Albemarle County. With us today are myself, Bobby Jose, project developer for the project. We also have here Danny Van Cleef, our CEO, Mike Stanton, our director of development, and Becca Stoner, the development engineer for the project. In addition, we do have a few representatives from CVEC here with us: Andrew Cotter, Bruce Malroff, and Gary Wood. And also, sorry, Melissa Gay is also here with us. A little bit about SunDrive for those who aren't familiar. We are established and based just up the road in Charlottesville, Virginia. We are deeply rooted in the state of Virginia, having worked with local governments, school systems, and landowners throughout the state to develop rooftop, ground mount, and utility scale projects. We are a very community-oriented organization, and are established by a handful of employees who are based in Albemarle County and surrounding localities. Even here today, we have representatives, Danny, Mike, Becca, and myself are all from the area. Some of us went to the University of Virginia, and again, it's very important, and we're very happy to have this opportunity to develop a project so close to our home. A little bit of information about the parcel itself. It's located approximately 1.5 to 1.8 miles to the west of the town of Batesville. It's currently owned by CVEC. The site area is 136 acres, zoned RA, and there's no current land use for the parcel. Our project is, as Bill stated earlier, an 8 megawatt AC solar energy facility paired with a 4 megawatt AC battery storage system. The project will utilize approximately 80 acres of the site. 32 of those acres will be cleared from current timber farm areas. Those areas are currently planted with vegetation with the goal of silviculture, and we won't be impacting significant amounts of deciduous vegetation on the site. Our site entrance is located off of Craig Store Road, and the project will produce enough energy to power approximately 2,600 homes for a year. The project will also connect directly to existing distribution lines on the property, and therefore we won't need to establish any additional power infrastructure outside the site, specifically related to the interconnection. As part of the project, we've done a number of environmental studies to date. Those include stream and wetland delineations, cultural historic resource screenings, and wildlife resource screenings. These studies largely showed no existing sensitive cultural, historic, or wildlife resources on the site. However, we'll continue to coordinate with agencies such as DEQ, Department of Environmental Quality, Department of Historic Resources, Department of Conservation and Recreation, and the Department of Wildlife Resources throughout the project's development to make sure we identify, and if identify, mitigate properly for any cultural, historical, wildlife issues that we might find on the site. But again, our due diligence to date has not indicated any of these sensitive features. The project was designed to utilize as much of the cleared space on the property as possible and avoid environmentally sensitive areas such as wetlands and high slopes. We utilized high efficiency solar panels that will reduce the development footprint of the project to the minimum size necessary. And then again, the design is established to meet or exceed county requirements for buffering, and we're aware and are doing have designed the facility to reduce landowner viewshed impact as much as possible. And I'll explain a little bit more about that in the coming slides. Here is the layout as currently developed for the site. As you can see, the panel area is largely focused to the center of the site. Anything you see in the picture outside of the dashed lines, which will be the fence line for the property, will remain in its existing form. So all of the vegetation outside those dotted lines will remain as it exists. And then in addition, we'll be supplementing that existing vegetation with additional planted buffers in the locations identified by the blue lines here. The three red dots are viewpoints for visual simulations that we put together, which we'll go over in a minute. And those are designed to give a simulation of what the final established facility will look like from various points along the southeast border of the project. So again, we're very cognizant of the visual impact of the project. We work hard to mitigate any impacts by, again, preserving existing vegetation surrounding the site and supplementing that vegetation with any additional planted vegetation to further reduce visibility of the site. We'll adhere to all county ordinance regarding visual buffering with a minimum of 20-foot evergreen trees and staggered rows planted on center. Those will be planted at a minimum height of 4 feet and grow to 8 feet within 3 to 5 years. these are, again, I'll be going through the visual simulations that we had put together for the project here in the next few slides. The first slide you'll see is the current view on the site, and then the second slide will be the simulated view with the facility. So this is the current view from point 1 indicated in the slide, the site map slide a few slides ago. And then this is what the view shed with the facility and established buffer will look like. So, and then this is the same one, just going through it again, existing, proposed. Here is the second viewpoint, again, existing and proposed. And I'll show you that again. Existing, and then again, proposed. And this shows the vegetation at mature, at its mature state. And then the final here is the simulated view from Craig Store Road, where the project will be closest to the roadway. This is the current view, and not much change here, but this is what the view will look like once the facility is installed and vegetation has been established. Again, current and then installed. And as you can see, this was taken in the leaf off condition, so you can assume that the view will be further blocked in the spring, summer, and fall when foliage is on the vegetation. And then, just because it's difficult to see exactly where the edge of the facility will be in relation to Craig Store Road, we've highlighted the vegetated buffer as adjacent, as it is closest adjacent to Craig Store Road. So if all the vegetation which was removed between the facility and the roadway, this is the approximate distance facility would be from the roadway. Other potential impacts to the project might create to surrounding neighbors in the community. We've looked at mitigating these impacts and quantifying them as best possible, starting with any potential real estate impacts. We conducted a real estate impact study with a reputable appraisal company. Their study involves taking a look at similar projects throughout the state of Virginia and North Carolina, and finding, utilizing the distance of existing home sites to those facilities, and in what's called a match pair analysis. So these comparisons are applied to similar size projects such as ourselves, and they find that these facilities have no impact, positive or negative, on the real estate value of surrounding residences. We also looked at the noise the facility might produce. The solar system has few noise-producing components. Those noise-producing components include inverters and tracker motors. At the source, generally produce the amount of noise equal to a household appliance. And at the point of the site boundary, as we plan on locating those noise-producing components inward to the site, so that at the south boundary, those noise levels will have reduced to background levels. And then lighting on the facility will be reduced to that necessary for safety and security, will largely be located at the site entrance, and will incorporate shielded light fixtures which direct light away from surrounding properties and downward, so that it doesn't bleed off into the surrounding communities. The project, we will provide other avenues of community value. This includes an increase in the tax base that the county receives from the parcel, and that increase in tax base will come without impacts and the use of a lot of county services such as schools, emergency services, roads, and other public utilities. Midway Solar will produce carbon-free renewable energy to CVEC and surrounding households. And again, enough power to power over approximately 2,600 homes in Albemarle County. And the project will employ approximately 40 local workers throughout the development and construction, which include a lot of our Sun Tribe team. And then a little bit more about the timeline of the project. We anticipate construction of the project to occur sometime in the spring of next year. Construction will take approximately 6 months. Again, approximately 20 construction and construction management personnel will be on the site per day. And there'll be an estimated maximum of 4 truck trips to the site per day during the height of construction. Construction will occur during daylight hours. And then once the facility is in operation, operation of the facility will take place remotely. There won't be a full-time staff member on site. Maintenance trips to the site will average about 1 to 2 trips to the site per month. So it's very low maintenance, hands-off type of development. And then once the lifespan of the facility is complete, we will remove all of the PV equipment, including panels, inverters, racking, concrete pads, and cabling from the site and return it to its current condition as best possible. That will include removing all of the internal roadways if requested by the landowner and all equipment. And we will remove and recycle where possible any debris and components from the site. So again, it will be, once the life of this facility is complete, the site will be restored to its original condition. And we will ensure that any expense for that is secured with the county in the event that we're not able to do so. And with that, that's all I had as far as the presentation today. Again, thank you all for your time, and I look forward to your questions and comments.
Thank you for that. So just to give everybody a heads up again, so what we're doing with this information is we are reviewing it. We've not, county staff has not developed any comments as of yet. We're still in the review stage. Almost all of the information in one form, or well, I should say, I think all of the information you provided in one form or another is included in the application packet that has been submitted by Sun Tribe. And again, all of that information is available online. There's a link to that information in the agenda, so you can go there and that'll get you to it. If you have problems with that, you can always email me at bfritz@albemarle.org. And I'll be more than happy to help you with that. So I think we're going to go ahead and get started with public comments. Again, if you'd like to speak, raise your hand, and Carolyn will open it up so you can speak. If you are on the phone, *9. And with that, Carolyn, do you want to let in the first speaker?
Sure. I have Paul Miller. Please state your name, address, if you represent a group or organization, and you can start talking now.
My name's Paul Miller. I'm at 2513 Craig Store Road, and I'm not affiliated with anyone. I just reside on Craig Store Road. A couple comments. I'm in general in favor of solar development. I'm not so sure about this particular location. When I look at opportunities for development on top of buildings in more urban areas. It just, at face value, it's doesn't seem like the best location or use of that piece of property. But I have walked the property when it was for sale. I would considered, taking a shot at making an offer. So I'm familiar with the location, and just a couple of things that may build some goodwill or is grazing opportunities for small ruminants. So you may be, I have 50 acres behind me that I manage and 10 acres across the street from me that I manage as well, and run animals and basically have them improve the property, helping out my neighbors, and growing food. And small ruminants are primarily sheep. They're not 1,200-pound cows. They don't rub on and push things over. They're really ideal, I think, for vegetation management underneath these types of systems. And there is some active use of that property in that capacity. So I would really encourage you to bake that into your plan and thinking to allow guys like me and some people really close that could really benefit from that type of continued access and use. That's like a stacking mechanism where you can layer in solar and agriculture. You guys know all of this. I think that would really build some goodwill. And I'll just leave that at that, small ruminant grazing. The second piece is lights. The view shed in the night out here is amazing. It's one of the last places in Albemarle County where you can see the Milky Way. And a lot of people do not want that impacted in any way. So yes, I think you touched on the lighting. And I think the community will expect that you really look at how that facility is lit on the perimeter and the impact to stargazing. It's a quality of life thing. It's an intangible asset. You can't put a price on it. If that goes away for the next 30 years because of this project, you're going to have a lot of people not happy. So the other nice thing about that piece of property that is, and when I first saw the layout, I was like, oh, wow, this is not good. But then when you got into the view shed management piece of it, Bobby, I think that really helped me turn the corner. I'm not 100% behind this yet, but I think view shed management is going to be key. Nobody wants those pictures you showed to not represent the end product. So just be mindful of that. And then the last thing I'll end on is a park-like access outside of the gated area. So you've got the Meacham's River back there. You've got some really nice bottomland. Around the back there, you have a nice park in Batesville where some private landowners have enabled public access. It's not advertised, but there's a little trail system back there. It's sort of, if you're in the know, you know where to go, and people take care of it. So I don't know if there's a component that you can work into this for some level of access to get back into the river in the Meachams, walk a dog, bird watch. Those are all value added, things that could build a significant amount of goodwill, and not just talking about them to get you over the border, get you over the hump from the permit phase, but really, being contractually held accountable to implementing those types of things. So. But yeah, Paul Miller, 2513 Craig Store Road. I'll be tracking along with you guys on this project. So
Thank you for those comments. Carolyn, our next speaker.
Hi, this is Doug Gelman at 2126 Craig Store Road. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
My home and my property is about 2/10 of a mile from the facility. I'm a big proponent of solar. I do have solar on my home as well. My two questions or concerns are, the first that was just mentioned is the lighting. Is the lighting going to be on all the time in the evening, or is it going to be motion activated lighting? Because I'm concerned not only about the view shed, but about how it would affect animals and insects, fireflies, mating season, that kind of thing. And then the other question that I have is for the construction. I understand it's going to be during daylight hours, but it wasn't mentioned if that's going to be weekdays, weekends, both. That's something that I'm curious to know.
Great, thank you. We'll try to circle back on those. Carolyn? And Carolyn, I'll just let you cycle through without saying it.
All right, that sounds good. Next, we have Kevin Winstead. Kevin, please state your name, address, and if you are affiliated with a group or organization. You may start now.
Okay. Kevin Winstead. I'm at 1905 Craig Store Road with my wife, Debbie. I would just like to say I completely agree with everything Paul brought up and his concerns about the lighting and the stargazing out here. Also, I am directly across from where they will be accessing the site. And I've, sort of keep an eye on things from where I sit. Park-like access would be very much appreciated. I'm also a little concerned about the construction and the bridge there by the Batesville Market on Craig Store Road. I'm not sure exactly what the weight capacity is, but I'm hopeful that the construction crew keeps that in mind. Because I'm often concerned when I see big logging trucks go along there. And I'm a big proponent of what Paul mentioned about small ruminants. I lived in the UK for a couple of years, and they do that quite a bit over there in their solar fields, and it seems to work well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, I have Mark Tooting. Please state your name, address, and if you are affiliated with a group or organization, please state that as well. You may start.
I'm Mark Teeting. I am at 1832 Craig Store Road. I'm not affiliated with any organization. I'm actually the farmer that is renting the land now, or utilizing it. I guess there's no cash payment. It was to keep the agricultural use on it. I had a curiosity about the visual impacts. The images that Bobby showed us were 8 years out. And when we were out here at the site, I was curious about what it would look like upon installation, because we have to live with it, for those 8 years until it gets mature. Did you have a chance to come up with a visual on what that would look like for those of us who were living there in the interim? And the other question I had was for the county folks. It says define substantial. I would like some definition of what substantial impact means. Well, certainly, I'm excited about solar, and they've been really good to work with, and it talked about letting my son Jack keep running his sheep there. I have to worry about property values a little bit too. And while there might be a study that they commissioned that said property values aren't changed, I think most of us who live in the area, you said we want to live in a rural area, know that we probably wouldn't have bought here if there was a power plant next door. So what is the alternative from the county's point of view? Would we have to get somebody different or independent to look at property impacts, or how would that go? Not saying that their real estate commission company is wrong, but they know who is paying them. So, and just common sense, it makes sense that there is going to be a property value impact on people who want to buy out in the country and not have industrial neighbors.
Sure, when we wrap up here, we get all the comments. I can touch on that part, and I'm sure Bobby can touch on the visibility part. But yeah, we'll get back to that.
Next is Kristin Jones. Kristin, please state your name, address, and if you are affiliated with the group or organization. You may start now. Kristin,
Oh, okay, now can you hear me?
yes.
Kristin Jones, 6979 Wishing Meadow Lane. And we're also directly across from where the entrance looks like. I couldn't tell if it was going to use the existing entrance. It almost looks like the existing entrance is maybe not on the property. I'm not certain of that. The slide went by kind of quickly, but at any rate, just a little bit more information maybe on what that entrance is going to look like and how the traffic flow is going to go there. Sounds like a lot of traffic for 6 months or so. Not so worried about the traffic later after it's built, but definitely our driveway serves 6 households, and so that would be significant to us. Also wanted to just say, yes, again, seconding Paul Miller's comments, both that it would be great to have some public dog walking, whatever, access down to the river. And just, this is just a really quiet area, and the night sky is something that that all of us really do hold near and dear. So just seconding those comments.
Thank you.
Next, I have Jane Fellows. Jane, please unmute. You can start now with your name, address, and if you are affiliated with anyone.
Hi, I'm Jane Fellows. I'm here with my husband, Phil. We're at 1915 Thunder Ridge Road. Thank you to Bobby for coming out and being so communicative to us. That's been great. My question is about property values also, and I do believe that there'll be a differential on property values on whether you the facility is visible from your property or not visible from your property. And so I think that when the county or whoever's doing the next study, that would be part of the equation. Is I can imagine if the solar facility is tucked in behind existing vegetation and the plantings, and it sort of recedes into the background, then it's not really going to be necessarily a big property value impact. But I think that if it's visible from our property, it will impact the property values. And then my concern is also driving up Thunder Ridge. You have a pretty great view of that property. And so I'm not positive how much of the facility would be visible upon approach, like not necessarily from my own property, but from my road that accesses my property. That's all I've got.
Thank you.
We have John next. Please state your name, address, and if you are representing anybody.
Hello, John Forrestay, 670 High Top Drive in North Garden on Bundoran Farm, and no affiliation, just myself. First of all, I'm very supportive of solar, even though we don't have any here because we live in the woods, but we're part of the CVEC solar share, and glad we have that. Few questions. One is the life expectancy and efficiency of the panels over time. Number 2 is the recycling of the materials when that time is up. 3, the lighting. Why is there lighting at all why is there lighting at all that's going to be needed at the facility? And the last question, I don't know if you can comment on it, is putting solar on commercial and retail buildings. Somebody mentioned that early on. I'm very disappointed in Charlottesville, for one, all those big box stores. Why don't we have more big solar panels on those buildings? Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a phone caller. Please unmute and state your name, address, and if you are representing a group or organization.
This is Brenda Martin, and I live at 2024 Craig Store Road, and I'm not affiliated with anyone, just a homeowner on Craig Store Road. I have a question concerning the customers that will be serviced by this project. Will it be the customers on Craig Store Road, or will it be somewhere else? Also, I have a question about, will you be able to see the panels, the solar panels from Craig Store Road as you're driving by the property?
Thanks, and we'll try to get to those here as we wrap up, but thanks.
Thank you.
I do not have anybody else at this time that has their hand raised.
Okay, Bobby, you want to try to answer the questions that you can, or do you want me to answer the questions that are directed at the county, and then we'll see if that generates any sort of follow-up questions?
Yeah, please go first, and then I'll be happy to answer.
Okay, sure. The first one that I think someone had was the issue of definition of substantial impact. And I had mentioned before what the factors that we consider are, and that is one of substantial detriment is a very high bar. Substantial detriment that planners use is that the impact is of such severe impact that it denies the right to use another property. So for example, if I have a use that generates a massive amount of odor and I am next to a restaurant, I've effectively made it so that restaurant cannot operate. That would be a substantial detriment. The mere fact it can be seen would not be a substantial detriment. And what we do there is, and that's why there's these 4 factors. So we would look at, it may not be a substantial detriment, but it might be inconsistent with the character of the area. And it may be, is it in harmony with the purpose and intent of this ordinance and with the uses permitted by right in the district? And is it consistent with the public health, safety, and general welfare? So we look at a wide variety of things to determine whether or not the use is going to be consistent. So we may make a finding that it's not a substantial detriment, but we may make a finding that it's inconsistent with the character of the area. And these are not well defined. They're not. It's an art, not a science. And so we'll go through and do an analysis, and we'll provide that analysis to the Planning Commission and board. And then each Planning Commissioner and board member will apply their own judgment to the particular application. So I hope that answers that particular question. So we look at a wide range of factors. So, I think one was visibility and how will we be analyzing that and the impact there. And that's something that we'll be looking at the comprehensive plan, the content that the comprehensive plan says. And we're looking at the information that the applicant has submitted. And again, all those visibility analysis are in the packet that the applicant has submitted. So if you want to look at those in more detail, you can do that. But we're also looking at it ourselves and trying to analyze things. I think those were the questions that were directed at me. So if you want to take a look at those other one question about the entrance. So the actual design of the entrance, that will be done if the special use permit is approved, that'll be done at the time of the site plan. And the entrance, the location of the entrance must be approved by the Department of Transportation, as well as the design of that entrance. And we have communicated with the Department of Transportation and gotten some comments there. They had some concerns about traffic. Someone else raised it about the bridge over at Batesville. Traffic will be coming from the west, not from the east, coming from 151. That bridge, first off, the turn is a horrible turn. And secondly, the bridge is not really adequate to handle any sort of heavy traffic. Now, that being said, I don't know, there may be passenger vehicles that use that, but truck traffic would not be using that. And I have already asked the applicant to verify that the existing entrance is in fact on the CVEC property, and it is. The original plan that was submitted showed it on an adjacent property, but they have done a new survey and it shows that it's actually on the CVEC property. If you want to take it from there, I'll sit back and listen.
Yeah, first I just wanted to thank everybody again for attending and for your thoughtful comments about the project. I think there were some great suggestions that were proposed, and as we move forward with our application, we'll look to implement those in our project. To answer some of the more specific questions as I can today, and Bill touched on this briefly just a minute ago, construction traffic will not be traveling through the town of Batesville, including across the bridge. Will be coming to the site from the west along Craig Store Road. We're cognizant of the challenges related to traffic, increasing traffic through Batesville, and want to be respectful of that. So construction will travel again from the west to the site along Craig Store Road from the direction of Route 151. Also related to construction timing, we will limit construction to the daylight hours in the weekdays and on potentially on Saturday. If we have to move into Sunday for construction, it's something we'll consult with the county on. Looking at the question about visibility from Craig Store Road, we've designed the project so that it will not be visible from Craig Store Road, and I think hopefully the visual impact simulations give you an idea of what that visibility may look like from Craig Store Road. As far as project lighting, I'm going to let my colleague Mike Stanton answer that one for you.
Yeah, thanks, Bobby. Appreciate all the questions and the feedback here. Hopefully I can shed some light, no pun intended, on the question of lighting. These facilities require very minimal maintenance, as Bobby talked about earlier. Lighting on the project is really for when that maintenance occurs, and from a safety perspective, we want to make sure that that maintenance is able to happen at any hour of the day as it's needed. So that lighting tends to be focused around the interconnection equipment and the access gate into the project itself, but it is shielded, so it's pointed down towards the ground so that it does not spill out beyond the exact area where it's meant to be focused, and can also be motion activated. So that's something we're more than willing to incorporate into our design to ensure that the lights are rarely on, and when they are, that they're pointed in a direction that won't impact any nearby residences or neighborhoods.
Circling back to a question about the life expectancy and efficiency of panels. The efficiency in terms of wattage of the panels we'll utilize on site is still under development. We're still trying to identify what size watt panels we'll be using for the project. But as far as life expectancy, typically panels are warrantied for 30 to 35 years, much like warranty on a vehicle or other long-lasting piece of machinery. Typically, the lifespan of that piece of equipment can last longer than that warranty, but typically life expectancy as far as warranty goes 35 years. I believe there's also a question about how the project's power will move along CVEX grid. Andrew, if you want to take that question, appreciate it.
Sure. I'm Andrew Cotter with Central Virginia Electric Cooperative. I'm the wholesale power specialist, and I've been joined by a few other folks here from Central Virginia: Bruce Marhoff, our COO, Gary Wood, our CEO, and Melissa Gay, who's our manager of member services and communications. So there was a couple questions that I might just kind of answer sequentially here a little bit. First, I just want to say that I'm really excited to be here to represent Central Virginia Electric Cooperative. We're all really excited about this project because we see a lot of benefits for us. And if you're not aware, Central Virginia Electric Cooperative is a not-for-profit member-owned utility. So when I say us, I don't mean CVEC, I actually mean all of us. So a couple of the questions here might require a little bit of explaining. One is, why here and not on top of some of the big box buildings, which customers are going to be served and whatnot. So the major benefit for this project is that it gives CVEC a chance to have control over where and how we get our power. The solar power source isn't just clean, but it's a low-cost resource. It's a low-cost resource that we're going to be in control of that will help us control the long-term rates for everybody. This project's going to look to maybe double, not quite double, but close to double our current solar portfolio. And then when we combine this system with a battery, what we can do is we can take advantage of this low-cost power, charge up the battery, and displace what is typically the most expensive power we purchase all year. So on really hot days, when a lot of people are using the air conditioning, and really cold days when everyone's using their heater, we're buying this really expensive power from the market. And so we're hoping to, as much as possible, use this battery to get this solar power into that battery and be able to then displace that cost. And I want to emphasize that as a co-op, this isn't an arbitrage opportunity to squeeze out an extra buck from a customer. This is about controlling the cost for everybody. So, what customers are going to be serviced by this? It's going to be all our customers. We're all going to be serviced by this. This is really about blending this into our portfolio in order to help control these costs in the future. Why is it so important that it's located here and not in Charlottesville? Those benefits I was talking about, our ability to control this power, that only happens if it's on our grid. And there's not that many places. This is probably our best opportunity to really have a project of this size at Central Virginia Electric Cooperative. So that's why it's really important that we have this project placed here, where we have the ability to put this on our grid, and we have the ability to take advantage of it and do that in a manner that maintains affordability, the safety to our customers. So that was really about who's going to be served by this and kind of a little bit more about the location. Let me just say, was there another question? I want to make sure that I was actually answering the questions I was supposed to answer. Was there another one that we wanted to address?
Andrew, I think you got it as far as the power infrastructure question went.
Okay.
And I don't have any other specific questions. We have some things that suggestions that people made, and we'll have to sit and ponder those. Just to let the different speaker or the different people who are attending know, one of the things that the county can do is it does have the ability to impose conditions on a request, but those conditions have to be somehow related to an impact caused by the particular application. So for example, lighting, we could potentially have a condition that deals with lighting so that it would be addressed if this were something that the Board of Supervisors wanted to approve. And I see that Ms. Palmer has raised her hand, so go ahead and add what you were going to add.
I wasn't going to add anything. I had a question. If you sounded like you were wrapping up, so I wanted to throw in a question beforehand.
And I see that two other people had raised their hands too. So I don't know if you want to let them go and then go last, or if you want to go now.
I'll go last.
Okay.
Okay.
If we'll take these last two questions, Carolyn, that we have, and then we'll do a wrap up.
Have Kelly Albert, please state your name and address, and if you're affiliated with the association, what that association is. You may start now.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my name's actually Danielle Albert. I'm at 7124 Plank Road. I just had a couple of questions about the types of plants that you're going to use for screening. Is there any way to make sure that they're plants that are native to the area so that we don't have a bunch of Leland cypress trees along the road? And the other thing is there actual buildings on the site, or is it all just solar panels? And then the other question I had is, you have view sheds from different parts of Craig Store Road, but what about behind that? You're at a higher elevation, it looked like, and I was wondering, like for people that live behind the area that you're gonna put the solar panels in, how is that gonna affect their views if they're also at a higher elevation? And that's all the questions I had.
Thank you.
Hello,
Go ahead.
John Forrest, a follow-up question. You may not want to address this because it's not specific to this project, but is CVEC, with the solar projects you're doing, considering putting panels on commercial or retail buildings?
Thank you. That's all we have. Ms. Palmer, if you want to go ahead, or if you want me to do a wrap up, I'm not sure.
I'll just ask my question. It's,
Okay.
I guess, for Andrew. Thank you for the explanation of why CVIC is doing this. Do you have to meet renewable energy standards? Is this part of that portfolio? And could you just say a word about that if it is?
You want to go ahead and answer that, Bobby?
Yeah, Drew, please go ahead.
All right, good. So we have, so the two questions, first one about the renewable energy standards and the second one about commercial and retail buildings. So the first one on renewable energy standards, this project is right now really being penciled out mainly on the long-term affordability and sustainability of our power supply. That said, what this does by having this on our grid and us being the sole off-taker is it gives us a lot more options in the future. So if our board determines that we do want to meet a renewable portfolio standard, what this gives us is a major strategic asset that gives us those renewable portfolio standards, the renewable energy credits that would otherwise have to go to a market. So no, this isn't built to meet any sort of renewable standard, but what it does is it gives us the ability to have a strategic approach towards that and a huge asset for the future should that come down the line. The second question about the commercial and retail buildings, for that, we have, for commercial and retail buildings, we basically have a different system. It's called our net metering program. And we do have a net metering specialized rate for retail and commercial customers. So what we do is we would work, and I would work directly with retail and commercial customers who want to put solar on their roof. And the way that would go is basically they would be consuming that power first. And, you know, any excess power that gets put on the grid, we would be purchasing. It kind of has the net same effect, but the real difference is, you know, who the primary beneficiary is. In the case of the net metering, the beneficiary goes to the customer who installs it first, with the rest of the power basically coming into the basic power pool, versus the solar, where that project, that power is going to the entire Central Virginia Electric Cooperative power pool.
And I'll just add, just in case anybody else has a question, for anyone who wants to put solar panels on an existing house, a retail building, a commercial building, as long as they are not producing power in excess of what they're consuming. So if it's the net metering that you're talking about, that's a simple building permit, and we issue those all around the county. So there's no special use permit. So that's a completely different animal from the scale solar that we're talking about here. I hope we've answered everyone's questions. I hope you've got, go ahead, Bobby.
Yeah, I just wanted to address the last comments there, and then hand it over to Danny for a closing statement from SunTribe, if that's all right, Bill.
That'd be fine.
So as far as the vegetation used in the buffer, we will use Virginia native plants. Albemarle County has a great native plant tool that will likely utilize to identify an appropriate species of native Virginia plant for the vegetation. And then I think there was a question about buildings. There won't be a building per se on site. The closest thing to a building will be the battery structure, which is basically a metal container. Anything else, any other equipment on site will be pad mounted on like a concrete footing. So there won't be a traditional building constructed as part of the project. And then Danny, do you have any other additional things to add?
I was just spotting an opportunity to sort of sweep any comments and questions that were made that we didn't directly answer. We definitely heard, we have taken notes throughout, and just wanted to again voice our appreciation for a well-attended meeting, all the thoughtful comments, questions, and suggestions. And you know, to those that we didn't directly address on this call, I just wanted to provide our assurance that we've been listening carefully, and to reiterate that as an Albemarle County based team, many of us have been living here a long time, all of our lives. This is a project that we view with great responsibility. We want, as does our partner, CVEC, for this to be a very positive legacy project for us. We believe in what we're presenting here and what we're proposing here, but we know we need to get this right for our neighbors. All of us value what's been spoken here today, what drew us to this area, the green space, the rural character. I heard a lot of comments that sound like where I live, which is out near Whitehall. We want to preserve and protect those things as well. And I think that they can coexist as we help CVEC and its members move towards an even greener future than the one they've already ushered in. This is not the first project of this variety that CVEC has completed. And I think there's a successful legacy already that's been established, and we just seek to add to that. So I just wanted to stress again the local nature of this team and the fact that we truly take to heart the comments and questions and concerns raised here. So the proof will be in the pudding as this application package moves further ahead. But I wanted to at least make that statement here this evening, again, with our gratitude for everyone's time.
Well, thank you for that. I wanted to let everyone know that if you have more questions, you can email me, bfritz@albemarle.org. I can also add you to the email distribution list I have. I encourage you to do that, because that way I can let you know when this is scheduled for public hearings And I can let you know the best way that you can provide comments, if you want to provide comments, that can then be presented to or forwarded to the Planning Commission and Board of Supervisors, and how you can participate in those meetings as they come forward. So if we haven't answered a question for you tonight, or you think of a question later on, email me. Either I'll answer it, or I'll forward it on to the applicant and let them try to answer that question. But again, I wanted to thank everybody for attending this and for your interest and concerns on it. And again, thank everyone. And if you have questions, please email me, bfritz@albemarle.org. And with that, I think we're done. Carolyn, any last things to do here that you know of?
No, I will post this to the county calendar tomorrow morning for
Okay.
anybody that would like to review it again.
Okay, fantastic. I think that we're done here for tonight. Again, if you have questions, please get in touch with me. I know the applicant has given his email out too. And you want to give that email address real quick, Bobby?
Yeah, it's my name, Bobby.Jose, J-O-C as in Charlie, Z as in zebra, @suntribedevelopment.com.
Great. Thank you again, and look forward to seeing you all at the Planning Commission and Board of Supervisors meeting. And thank you. Good night.
Thank you all very much.